Good morning, and let me adjust my camera here. Good morning, it's Morning Coffee with Brigid, and I'm Brigid Burke, and I'm here with you on Friday morning, Friday the 6th of September. Good morning, Alex. It is September the 6th, and it's a Friday, and I can't believe we're at Friday already. It just feels like things are flying by. Fortunately, I had a morning where I woke up to a whole bunch of different deposits, so I was like, oh good, maybe now I can finally pay the mortgage and my car insurance and get all of that sorted out. So that was some good news this morning. I do have a headache this morning. I do have my the one over the one eye, so I do have ice that I'm putting on my head. But I debated as to whether or not I would just not do the live stream this morning, but it's not. It kind of comes in waves. So it's not quite so severe at the moment, so I'm trying to, sometimes actually when I talk a lot, I have literally had meetings with people on the phone where I'm talking in my usual nonstop fashion, and by the end of it, my headache is gone. So, I don't know, whatever's going on in there, it definitely seems to be, I did like a solid 2-hour block of Rouhani, like from about, good morning, Pat. I did a solid 2-hour block of Rouhani from about 3:30 to almost 5:30. Trying to work on it, and actually, yeah, I mean, it was tremendously helpful in a lot of ways. I mean, it was just like everything was lighting up all over the place. But I also know that the type of thing that this is, it's like something that has to be worked through. Then we'll see where I end up with it. It is another nice morning. It's gonna warm up very slightly, but not to summertime levels exactly. More like late spring levels. And so it's going to be, and I think they're talking about maybe a little rain tomorrow, but but it's quite nice here, and I know they are talking about it warming up this week. I took all my air conditioners out and put them away, but because it was way too cold to have them in, my heat was going on. But at the same time, it is supposed to get mid-80s next week, so I was just thinking, I was like, well, the sun is, at least here in the northern hemisphere, is lower in the sky, so I'm not really terribly worried about it. I'm just thinking, we'll soldier on through whatever it ends up actually being. Now this morning is interesting. There's an interesting astrology today. So we're starting out with I made notes because I always kind of get them mixed up in my head, especially when we're talking with trines and sextiles and things, and I'm like, wait, is this sextile that or that? If I don't have the chart in front of me, I don't quite remember it. So we have a moon in Libra trine to Jupiter in Gemini. So, of course, Jupiter and Gemini, Gemini is communication, expansiveness, messages. Jupiter has to do with expansion. So there may be this tendency to want to feel like we want to branch out. Moon in Libra, of course, Libra has to do with partnering, with emotions, and the moon, of course, evokes our emotions. But we have this, moon is going to be opposing Chiron and Aries at 10:39 EST. So later this morning, just be prepared. There could be some emotional stuff because that could potentially poke at the wounds that we have when that happens. So although it said that the moon will then sextile Mercury in Leo by the end of the day, which is actually a very nice aspect, that whatever comes up for us, we might actually have the opportunity to resolve it. So just thought I'd keep my finger on the actual astrology of today. Also, just, I think the people who've joined me here, everybody's kind of like in different places. You guys are really thousands of miles away from me, really, if we come down to it, at least a couple thousand. But for anyone watching this later who's more local to New Jersey, I have been asked to do a Astrology 101 class next Saturday at Riverside Wellness. So I'm going to start putting together the ads for that. And I'm also putting together this website for my school. I finally bit the bullet and paid for the website startup costs, because I'm putting it up as a continuing education website. So there's a few more expenses attached to it. I have to do event planning and things like that. All needed to be incorporated. And yes, it is on Wix, and I know some of you. I know Pat. You absolutely. Wix is not like your favorite, not your favorite platform there. And really, there are things about it. I would like to spend some time on with their support this morning, and their support is really good. To be fair to Wix, they do actually have a really, really good support team that really does try to be helpful. So, I can't knock them for that. There's just certain ways that things work that I feel are clunkier than they should be. I like to have a system that is seamless. You should be able to go in, click a button, and boom, you're done, you know? Wix not my friend. I know, 'cause how many times she's emailed me and she goes, I did book an appointment with you, and I'm like, it's not showing up. Wix didn't tell me that there was an appointment. So, and it's giving it's just, it's really, it can be just very, I don't know. I suppose once you get used to it, it's easy, but it shouldn't be something you have to get used to. I just kind of feel like it should just work. But I think with the subscriptions, it can be a bit of a pain sometimes. So, or I don't know, maybe this is your ongoing Mercury retrograde with them. But yeah, so good morning, Suda. So I'm so today, because I'm kind of headachy today, I'm gonna just probably stick to doing some readings and see what comes up for us. I did pick a few different things today. I like my Black Moon astrology cards. I had picked these up in Clinton, and Joanne, good morning. I didn't see you on there. So I love these cards. I picked them up, and I find that I do use them a lot. I also have the Moonology deck here. My laptop fixed itself yesterday. Imagine that. When it's nice. It's nice when it fixes itself instead of managing to break itself. I'm remembering when I was still working on my second master's. I was working on my master's in religion and psych, and I had an exam in psychological thinkers of religion, and I had like this, they were like I had like 3 essay questions, and they were all like 14 pages each. And I had a laptop from Drew, because I'd gone to Drew. I went to Drew's GDR for to work on that degree, and this was back in the 90s, and late 90s, and I had been working on my my essay, and then I was literally almost finished. I wish mine would. I need another one. Good morning. I was working on my laptop, and I literally almost gotten to the end. Now, mind you, this was in WordPerfect, I think, back in those days. And I wanted to save it, and then all of a sudden, it was like my screen flashed, and it said, do you want to save? And boom, it just suddenly kicked me out of WordPerfect. And I was like, wait, what just happened? And it just kind of went through. And then I went through, it had blown away my entire midterm. My timer was a midterm or final. I think it was a final. I literally almost took the thing. I was living in an old 17th century house on a river. I literally nearly chucked it out the window into the river. I was so pissed off. I was like, anyway. So I had to sit down and recreate my entire essay. I had to rewrite the whole thing. And I was just livid when I had to do that. And then when I saw Dr. Austin, who was my teacher, she was like, oh, I would have given you a couple more. Yeah, that is painful. Yeah, she's like, oh, I would have given you a couple days to redo it. I'm like, it's just better that I got it done. Yeah, it was just, truthfully, it was probably the least of my problems at that time. But it's, it was just, yeah, that was, ugh. So anyway, yeah, laptops and computer problems. I have to update my Mac, and I'm always nervous about doing that because whenever I end up updating the operating system, it seems like to the next version, I always feel like something happens, and I'm worried. I'm a little bit worried because like my audio editing software, every time I open it now, it crashes, and I have to open it twice. It's like it's trying to open projects that aren't there, and that is actually a bug that has to do with the OS that I have with Mac. It has nothing to do with that software, and so I'm like, it's just really frustrating me. So, yeah. And then, of course, Apple is now getting to a point where they want to charge me something like $11 or $12 a month. They're like, oh, you could have 2 terabytes of storage. I'm like, you can go away. I'm just going to delete stuff. I'm not, it's bad enough that I pay them I think I pay like $3 a month, but I'm like, I shouldn't have to pay anything for storage. But, in any case, because the kind of work I do, I don't know if they're going to pressure me into it one of these days, but, in any case, I was talking about the decks that I have today. So I have that one. I have Moonology. I pulled out the Druidcraft deck. Now, this is one, I didn't buy it in Ireland, but I discovered it in Ireland. I think it was Patricia Weston who had told me. This one I haven't used in a while. It is a little, it's actually a really nice deck, but it's just a little bit hard to use. I can't even get my laptop to boot. It says it was interrupted on an update and reboots. If you have any energy healing, that's one thing. That's one thing I used to actually do. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing tech support in between tarot. But I had when I used to work at one of the public libraries around here years ago. We had a computer that did exactly that thing, and so what I would do, I would Reiki it every morning. I would actually Reiki it. My boss would be like, do that thing so that this computer goes on. They're not going to give us money for another one. So I would, I would Reiki it and it would start up. So yeah, I was going to say, Joanne, if you have any, I know you were doing a lot of shamanic type. Yeah, I'll take any advice. I know you're doing shamanic kind of stuff. But if you happen to have any kind of, if you've gotten any of those kind of certs, or you have any kind of technique that you use, give it a try. Seriously, I mean, it's energy, right? So, the worst that can happen is it doesn't do anything, right? So, it should. I've done it though. I've done that on my machines just to get them to just to get them to come to life again. And okay, and the last deck that I have, I have our usual Osho Zen, but I also have this one, which is one my friend. A friend of mine who used to live next door to my family for years. Her name was Vivian. She, when we had reconnected at one point, she used to go to a medium named Meijing Lu, and Meijing had created these cards, which are the Wisdom of the Tao Oracle. And Vivian wasn't really into doing cards. She had bought the deck from her. You have your Reiki one. Okay, Reiki one works. Just make sure you stick your hands on it and not above it. That's all. Yeah, so it's really, so this deck actually I find really interesting. So I don't use it quite that often because it's a little detailed. She does have all these long explanations. And when I try to look at these at night, they're not that easy on the eyes because she has like these things in here. And for me, I'm like trying to, if I don't have enough light, I'm trying to read them, and I'm like, that probably wasn't, I understand what she was trying to do there, but it probably wasn't the greatest design choice from a perspective of trying to read what it says. So anyway, let me just move some stuff out of the way. And good morning, Melissa. I'm going to see Melissa on Tuesday. I'm so excited. That will be, feel you with, feel you with that. Yeah, it's with the eyes. Yeah, my vision is, I should probably do more to protect my vision because I read so much, and everything I do is kind of visual in that way, like with reading and writing and stuff. But going to the eye doctor is very, very expensive, and insurance doesn't cover it. So, one of these days I'll go and get. Right now I just use readers when I need to look at something, but. At some point, I'm going to get new glasses. Okay, I think I'm actually going to start with this deck today. Yeah, everybody does. I remember my mom had like 10 pairs of them around the house. She's like, here, take one. And I was like, okay. So, because she does the same thing. It's funny how you spend years going and getting your eyes adjusted and getting everything right. I could never wear contacts. My eyes are too dry and to wear contacts. I already itch my eyes a lot during the day. It would be even worse. So, okay. So let's see if we can get our first message here this morning. For those of you who joined late, this is a headache day for me. So I'm just very. So I'm like, yeah, let's just do some readings and see what comes up for everybody. And I'm sure my headache will be fine later today. I don't think I could put them in. Yeah, me too. I don't think I could either. I'd just be like, no. I guess people do get used to it, but. I don't think I could do it, or take them out. That would be the thing. Yeah, and by the way, there is somebody, I don't know, she might sometimes watch this later. I'm doing a reading for at noon. I got too much sun yesterday, and your shot. Oh, well, you're getting a lot of vitamin D anyway. It was, yeah. I have. What'd you call it? I'm doing a reading for somebody at noon, and I know she might watch it. Sometimes if she does watch us, she might say, oh, you have a headache. Are you going to be okay to do a reading at noon? And the answer is yes. I will totally be okay to do a reading at noon. So I'll just probably go slow this morning in terms of the stuff I have to get done. As I was saying to some people, I am doing an astrology class in Milford next Saturday. So I'm trying to put stuff together, and I want to get the school thing. Oh, sorry. Try a nice Oh. You've got the ice right here. This one, these particular headaches are all just right here, and they are definitely hormonal in nature. Because there's nothing particular. I can't point to like a food or a weather condition or something else that triggers them. It just seems to be part of whatever my menopausal cycle is. My sister used to get them, and she told me, yeah, at some point they will stop, but there's really no medications that actually work. And what I also do, the other thing that works is if you have an essential oil, like if you have peppermint or wintergreen, something with that really minty kind of, I'll usually put that. Is that what that is? Yeah. I'll usually put it kind of like under here. Yeah, peppermint oil. Yeah, you would just say, yes, exactly, Melissa. That's what I was going to say. I would put it here, or I would put it by my eye. And of course, then my eye starts to water because, you know, pure essential peppermint oil is like, whoa, you're supposed to dilute it, but I don't dilute anything. So I put it on, but it does actually help, at least in the short term. But it has to basically work its way through. I think I actually have an allergy to something in my body. Like when I have a hormonal, like when I have either a drop in a certain hormone or a rise, it's like my body has a reaction that's almost autoimmune. You're a mind reader. Yeah. Some people say so. Tried that. Yes. Thanks. Oh, so okay. Yeah. The headaches. It's just like, yeah, I just put a little drop of oil, and you don't need a lot. You don't need to slather it on because then it's just going to burn, but just like a little bit of the essential, like peppermint. I think I've run out of the Young Living. I'm going to have to see what else, because YL, their website, they've changed their whole way of doing things, and it's really annoying to try to order from them now. So I don't know. I'm going to see if I can find something else, but yeah. So anyway, our first card this morning is Opportunity from this deck. Okay, and if you can stand cilantro can be very helpful for migraines. I've heard that too, and I've also heard clary sage is also good if it's hormone connected. Clary sage is also supposed to be very good. That's what I was told by a massage therapist in Ireland. So, okay, so this is the snake card. Okay, now snake, of course, as we know in Chinese astrology, is not a negative thing. Let's see. Let me find the meaning of this one. Okay, so I'll read this one to you. Your time has finally arrived. Your wisdom is garnered from years of contemplation, planning, and experience. In fact, this card is telling you that the planning stage is over. You're about to make a move, a smart move. Coolness and inaction are exactly where your strength comes from. You prepare well, and the information you gather supports you in all of your endeavors. You're a fire element with great yin. Yin fire ignites healings and connections between the spiritual and the physical. You are on the tree high above the water. The water from the lake in this image harmonizes with your yin fire. It portrays perfect balance. Snake symbolizes rebirth. This can mean that some significant changes are coming to your life. Something old and negative will metaphorically die as the new and positive emerges. Perhaps you are in the middle of a powerful transition and need to get rid of as many old attachments and embrace the new self. Well, we've been hearing that all month, right? Most often, you don't show what you know and keep ideas to yourself. This card reminds you to share your wisdom and knowledge because it is safe to do so. You're feeling this at work? Yeah, it sounds, from what you've told me, it does sound like there's something going on. There's some kind of a big change here. Your extensive analytical and logical skills make you a formidable competitor. Consequently, you are not good at handling losses. However, failure often teaches more than success. The snake card is asking you to take a deep breath and use your great wisdom to benefit from learned lessons. This card also indicates you have a keen interest in the arts and are an avid reader. Perhaps it's your time to become an author. The opportunity is here. Well, that might be more personal. I keep getting these messages like, finish your damn book. I did actually, to my credit, I did actually stay up late last night and do some writing. So instead of managing to avoid it like I usually do. The mysterious and the unknown fascinate you. Your psychic energy helps you tap into the world of the unconscious, and you continue to learn from it. Remember to step out into the sun once in a while. Just thinking of Joanne right now. The great yang energy of the sun helps you integrate what you have learned into valuable knowledge for humankind. So, so that is, this opportunity card's a very good one. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about fire with yin energy. And that's interesting because that has almost the element of the temperance card. It's the idea that you have fire and water that kind of work together. So it's like you have a lot of fiery energy, but you use it in a passive way. And that actually was a little bit of what I was going to talk about yesterday. We get on all kinds of topics on this live stream, but that was what I was going to talk about yesterday. It was a little bit about the way in which passivity can be a really good tool. Where rather than us putting direct effort into something, we kind of sidestep it, or if we have an obstacle, kind of almost going with the force of that resistance to do something. And the best analogy I've always had for that, which I know I've used before, is martial arts. The way in which if an opponent comes at you, if you can step or move in a certain way that you use their own force against them. Okay, and you you manage to score the point by not by avoidance. That's certainly a thing, especially when you're facing something that's too big for you. I remember I was taking karate, and I was working with a sensei. We had a couple different senseis who would come in with our regular instructor, and these were big guys. I mean, these were big, brawny guys. And I was paired up with one of them, and they had taught us certain things about using this kind of energy. He's like, okay, you need to take. I want you, I'm going to come at you. You need to take me down. This wasn't like it was sort of a self-defense class, which we didn't do a whole lot of necessarily, but. Basically, it was kind of like a drop, spin, and grab the bottom of the leg where the energy is, where the energy is the weak, and then kind of knock, and basically take the force of the top and knock him down to the ground. And I managed to do it a few times, and he was like, that's pretty good, So, again, we're not talking about having fights with people literally, but it's the idea that I think sometimes when we're asked to look at the big picture or look at something differently, it's not so much like, oh wow, there's this thing in front of me, I gotta immediately take all this action and charge right at it. Maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe you just need to sidestep it a little bit and think about it and use the force of whatever's happening to to your advantage. So I feel like that's a bit of the message of the opportunity card there. We're starting with the decks we don't normally use today. So let's do Druid Craft and see where we're at. So yeah, I mean, I've got this headache. It's starting to feel a little better, but I'm also having a hot flash right now. So yeah, it's all the joys of womanhood, which never seem to end, particularly from the moment, oops, Five of Wands is our first card. Yeah, it'll probably be in and out of this all day. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So. Okay. So the cards we've got here are the Five of Wands, is our first one. The second one is the Princess of Swords, which is like the Page of Swords. And then our last one is the Two of Wands. And this kind of also, this is interesting because this is literally almost the same thing that the opportunity card said. Because Five of Wands indicates this kind of competitiveness. Now, it's a playful competitiveness. This does remind us that we are in a space of play, right? This is not a space of, we are playing. We are not, the Five of Wands battle, as you can see, it's happening with sticks. It's not happening with swords. It's something that, and it is a little bit, like, it's funny, I'm using the martial arts analogy, it's a little bit more like that kind of an energy. And this tends to be a card of competition, or at least of outside influence that may or may not be what is, it's this kind of competition that, sometimes it's voices, people coming in and trying to tell us things or influence us in a way that is not necessarily helpful. This can have to do with competition or feeling like where you need to get ahead of a certain person or a situation, or maybe feeling like you're not getting ahead in the competition of other people. But this is this idea of, how we're playing the game. And of course, with the Princess of Swords energy, I have a friend actually who does not like the Page of Swords in any form. Always feels that when that card shows up that there's someone sneaky or sabotaging or manipulative. And sometimes I think that's true. But I think this is more about doing things indirectly. More about what you learn through observing and through gaining information rather than directly tackling something. Again, this is very indirect. This is what you learn through. This is what you learn from the word on the street, right? This is what you learn from other people rather than necessarily what you learn directly. There's a very indirect vibe to Princess of Swords, and so I think that's the energy here. Like, we meet conflict by stepping back from it. And you remember this week we've been hearing a whole lot. Good morning, Sam. We've been hearing a whole lot about stepping back, about not approaching something directly, not jumping right into things. That's kind of been the whole thing. We saw a whole thing about passivity the other day, I think, in our readings. And so, yeah, this still seems to be the same thing. There's something to be gained from not immediately acting on something, but watching and waiting a little bit to see what the best move is. Yeah, because then we have the Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands is a card of, well, really, it's a card of, preparing to launch is the way I think of the Two of Wands. It's like you're at this crossroads. You're at this point where you have to make a decision, but you don't want to step into the fray without stepping back and getting your inside information before you move ahead. And to me, that's almost like the same idea of passivity or avoidance. It's something you don't do directly. I love when other people show their cards. Yeah, it's right. It's kind of a thing when sometimes you want to wait and let the other person show their hand. Or it's like those old Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons, like, where Coyote comes running, does something at him, and then the Roadrunner just steps out of the way and like he smashes into a brick wall or something. Like whatever trap he's laid, he ends up being caught in it himself. That's kind of the energy of that. It's kind of like, beating somebody at their own game by not being quick to aggressively take it on. And I think when we have these long talks about masculinity and femininity, one of the things I think people forget is that when we're talking about this, not about men and women, we live in a culture that says action is always better. Action is better. Clarity is better. Doing things very, very directly is a better way to do it. Speaking directly, taking decisive action. And the thing is, we tend to think of all of those other ways of dealing, like the more indirect methods, as somehow being like cheating or somehow as being a manipulation. If I think about Greek mythology, I think about the characters of Ajax and Odysseus in the Iliad. Ajax is a very, very direct fighter. He has very strong Aries energy. He's very, he can go in and be a killing machine in these epics. Odysseus is a little bit different. He's the guy who's more into guerrilla warfare. He ambushes by night. People say things to him, and he's never quite direct. He makes up a story. Oh yeah, I'm so and so, and I'm really from here. And he doesn't tell people the truth about him right away. And see, when we look at that, we have a very negative association with that. We're like, well, you're not being honest with me. You're not being upfront with me. You're kind of gliding through. It's kind of what we think of as the used car salesman vibe. That's the negative side of it. Where you feel like you're being manipulated into something. And we don't like that because we want to see it right in front of us. And again, that sentiment is understood. I'm certainly a person who likes people to be direct with me and not, slide their way around it. But that's how sales work. I mean, to be a good salesperson is not to directly, aggressively try to get somebody to buy something. You kind of have to slide in and go, oh yeah, I understand this. Oh yeah, and there's that. Oh, I know everything's so expensive. People slide around it, right? They don't go right in for the kill, because especially if they think there's somebody who's resistant, the best way to deal with resistance is not to just jump in and tackle somebody. That's the art of negotiation, right? That's really more of the feminine mode, and we're distrustful of that. But it has its uses. There are certain times when being direct is the way to be, and there are other times when being indirect is the way to go. When you don't want to be, you don't want to be too much in somebody's face. It's not going to help you. So it's the stray animal thing too. Like you have the stray cat in your yard, and if you go running after the stray cat and try to grab it, it's gonna run away. You're not gonna see it again. You have to put food out and kind of lure it and not look it in the eye and walk around until eventually it gets, more confident and comes closer, right? There's sometimes, passivity and the need to wait to get what you want. And I think really because we're so culturally attuned to, success is about being productive and having a list and finishing everything off and, just going for it and doing it, which again, I'm not, decrying that as a strategy. I mean, sometimes that is exactly what you need to do. But we think that anything in which we need to be passive or we need to wait or wait and see, we think, well, you're just wasting time. No, maybe, sometimes, that's worth the wait. It's a Seven of Pentacles energy in the cat deck that I have. Speaking of cats, it's where you have the cat, like he's just kind of sitting on the edge, like looking into a little hole where there's like a little mouse or some kind of a rodent lives there. And he's just waiting. He's just sitting there very quietly and waiting, It's that kind of, and that's actually their version of the Seven of Pentacles. You're just quietly waiting for the right time to spring. And that has been a frequent card that has shown up recently. So let's see. And it's really funny as I say that. I'm pulling Moonology cards. Okay. Our first card is Your Dreams Need a Practical Plan. Here I am telling you about doing that, and then this is saying, really what this is just, I feel like this is more of a card right now about being grounded. This is more about, we want to, part of the reason that we may need to step back is because we may not be thinking about all the practical steps. If we've been in a very Piscean space, we may need to see how certain things play out, rather than trying to say, okay, I have the idea, I'm just going to figure it out as I go along. It might be better to just wait and see how things develop. I mean, we do have the Gibbous Moon too. You're very close to achieving your goal. I'm going to actually read that one from the book, because I remember that one's kind of interesting. And gibbous, of course, this means bulging. It's like it's like we're moving towards the full moon. And it says, the word gibbous means bulging. That's the first thing. What a descriptive word, right? And pulling this card at any time of the month suggests the situation you're asking about is bulging with possibility and coming to a peak. But it isn't an ending card with a neat yes or no answer. Rather, you're being reminded that some adjustments may yet be required before you get what you want, though you're certainly on the right track, which is hopefully reassuring for you. However, there's also a sense that the situation is a bit tense, so don't push too hard. One false move and the whole thing could blow. Like, seriously, did we just say this? Like, about not wanting to rush in too quickly. That's not meant to scare you. It's just to let you know there's a fuse attached, so be careful how you choose to light it. Okay? So this is a time of review. Both of these suggest this is a time of review. This is a time of keeping our feet on the ground, but doing review. And our outcome card here is the North Node. Okay. Now, North Node is in Aries. I think I was saying first thing that we have Chiron and Aries opposing the Moon this morning. So this could be a little bit of an emotional morning for people. But yeah, I know that the North Node currently is in Aries, and so. And the outcome here is step out of your comfort zone. It says there's a strong feeling that it's time to leave the past behind somehow because you're headed in the right direction. If you want to be happy and fulfilled, you need to get going towards doing the thing that scares you. That's nice, right? Within reason, she adds. This card is all about living your life purpose, which is possibly what you've asked about. It's urging you to dare to do something different with your life and your direction, to take action. So are you willing to follow through and lead the life you incarnated to live? If you finally find the courage to make a leap, there's a good chance you'll come to asking yourself, why did I wait so long? Okay, so yeah, so this is, I think the way that I take that is if we're trying to move in a new direction, if we're trying to live our lives differently, then I think what's required there is not to just rush in. We want to step back and think about our strategy a little bit, and maybe not do something in the same old way. I mean, North Node is doing something differently, not just repeating what's past and what's familiar. We're moving towards doing something different because we are moving into a time where things are going to be done differently. But again, remember Pluto retrograde Capricorn. We're reviewing right now. And there may be certain things that we're waiting on. And the practical side of it, I think, is just kind of weighing out what are the details that we need to clean up. But that doesn't mean we have to necessarily jump and clean everything up right away. We just may need to have some kind of a plan for moving forward. But plans at a time like this only should be flexible. Okay, not to place too many expectations, not to tie yourself to too many outcomes. Because also with that Page of Swords energy, you may not have all the information yet that you need. There may be other information that you need that is going to reveal itself in time. And again, I keep every time I think that, people's next question is always like, well, okay, does North Node matter on the day you were born? Mine was in Scorpio. The North Node, yes. I mean, right now, North Node is, where your North Node is going to, that more or less determines what your track is. So if you're in Scorpio, you have a Scorpio-Taurus axis. So if your North Node's in Scorpio, I don't think we know, I think that's right, because you're not sure of your exact birth time, so we don't know what house it's in. But North Node in Scorpio, I mean, yeah, that is definitely a movement into deeper stuff. It's not surprising that you're interested in a lot of the stuff that you're interested in, because that is highly transformative. And Taurus, of course, is very practical, very maybe more conservative, more about stability. Scorpio, you're like diving deep into the waters. So that's really where your life purpose is. You're meant to kind of dive deep. You're not meant to try to live, the safe and comfortable, routine kind of life. That's what came before, but that may be the thing that's hard to let go of, because that's what you're used to. That's where your comfort zone is. I mean, you are Taurus, but you're also Gemini, so you're kind of on that cusp. So there's this. Gemini is more of this energy, this kind of mental energy, this thinking through. But Scorpio is very deep water. Yeah, it's me, always on the edge. Yep. And so yeah, that's probably why you're drawn to a lot of stuff that's on the edge there, like in terms of esoterically and so forth, because shamanism and things like that, because that's scorpionic energy. That's the direction you're moving in. So the good news is that you're headed in the right direction. Okay, so let's do our regular deck for today. We've got about 8 minutes left. Yeah, again, playfulness is our center card here. This is, I think, this is the Page of Wands, actually, in this one. So I was thinking, they have these little triangles on the card, and I always get confused between that and the Knight, but I have a Knight next to it, so I'm pretty sure this is a Page. The playfulness card is, yeah, if you think about the Page of Wands energy, it's very enthusiastic. It's, wow, I have great ideas. I'm ready to go. I want to, take what I'm imagining, take what I'm planning, and try to bring it into ground. Try to manifest it in some way. How are we going to play at this? If you ever a kid and you were, I don't know if you guys ever did this. I was just a kid who would be like, okay, we're going to play house, so you're going to play school, or you're going to play, different things that people just decide they want to play. Yeah, so you're still doing that as an adult. What are you playing at? And when you're playing at it, that's such a fun visual. Yeah, it's because when I think about it, it's kind of, we're just kind of doing a version of that has more real world consequences, I guess. Like I don't have to play at being teacher. I get paid for it now. You know what I mean? It's like there's kind of more of a real world thing. Plus I've done the schooling and whatever else I need to do to actually be a teacher rather than pretend to be one. But yeah. And sometimes there's that kind of a thing. There's the fake it till you make it. You pretend you're doing it, and but also that kind of gives you a sense of feeling like you are. There's all these little birds all of a sudden flying around outside. I'm not really sure what kind they are, but they're kind of dive bombing around the lawn. I don't know if it's more grackles. Anyway, don't mean to be distracted by birds, but playfulness, this idea of like treating it like you're going to go play at something, right? But we're fighting it. That's our internal card again. We have our Knight of Clouds, Knight of Swords. There's that fighting energy. And again, but remember, Knight of Swords is also an energy that wants to rush in. And take charge and take control of everything, right? That's kind of the inner impulse when we're in a certain space, is we have this enthusiastic energy, but we kind of end up wanting to do things the way that we did it before. And really the external feeling of which we're aware is existence. And the existence card is, again, you see this woman sitting really kind of on what's supposed to be like a lotus flower type thing, and she's looking out at the stars. And this is the magician card. This is about manifesting. But interestingly, it's manifesting by stepping back. This is saying you're part of a bigger system. Literally what I'm just telling you, it's kind of like, let the wind take your sails. Don't be rowing so hard, Go out and recognize, that there's a bigger picture here. I think that's what we're all being pushed towards. You want to play with the bigger picture here. You don't want to be, have this serious, aggressive, I've got to roll my sleeves up and it's all on me kind of thing. You want to see what the big picture is. And this requires this letting go. This is Eight of Cups energy, where Eight of Cups can also indicate a sense of not wanting to get ahead of yourself. You're going to be walking away from something, and it's going to be something that you've been very comfortable and very familiar with. But again, there's this sense of considering where you're going. And as I've often said about the Eight of Cups, I always feel it's a card that's connected to eclipses, probably just because of the visual on the Rider-Waite Smith deck. But we're moving towards this. Yeah, so we have this eclipse energy coming. What are we at? We're at the 6th right now. Like, I think as tomorrow, it's like 10, 11 days, we're going to have another eclipse. So, yeah, we're definitely moving towards this energy, and this is definitely about letting go. And, again, stepping out, that yin energy. Yin energy applied, it's funny, yin and fire, right? What do we have there? Yin and fire, right? This is wands, this is water. Fire and water. And yeah, and the outcome card is stress. This is the 7 of Wands. In this deck, this is more of a thing of we don't need to be juggling all this stuff the way that we're doing it, because all we're doing is wearing ourselves down. And if you feel like an obstacle's in your path, that obstacle might be beneficial to you. It might not just be another frustration that's not going to let me do what I want to do. That tends to be the way we look at it. But that can also sometimes be a sign that we're not looking at it quite the right way, that we need to think about it in a different way. So yeah, there still seems to be a lot about this. I think we are definitely in a time of reconsideration. We have, like I said, 2 big retrogrades from the outer planets. So those are usually because there's something that's being considered on a bigger level. Those planetary influences are not just about our individual lives. I mean, yeah, they do have an impact on our individual lives, but their impact tends to be more collective. So this suggests to me that there's going to be collective shifts. Like, I think each of us will probably be talking at some point about, yeah, this happened to me or this happened to me. It's going to be happening to us individually, but it's also going to be happening on a collective level too. Like, what's happening in our individual lives will be reflected in the broader picture as we see things shift and change. And I think, as I had said the other day with the Azrael messages, that there could be a sense right now that the reason that it may be telling us to do this is because we may have a picture of things right now that's going to be very different after the eclipses. We may be trying to make our long-term plans and decisions based on stuff that the information we have right now. And the fact that it's telling us to wait, whenever I see that in a reading, it's always like, okay, but wait, there's more. There's more coming here that we need to look at. So we don't necessarily want to be quick to jump in and make a lot of decisions and lay a lot of plans and lay a lot of things out right now. It's more about, like I said, cleaning up and finishing old business and looking for opportunity. I thought the snake card was a good way to start this because we're looking for the opportunities. And it's more about seeing where our advantage is rather than trying to just seeing something in front of us and aggressively either going after it or pushing back against it. It's just more like, no, wait, look at this a different way. Yeah, there's different. Oftentimes we do the way that just seems the most logical or the most obvious to our face, but there's probably another way to look at things. So yeah, so its advice here, I think, is we'll just do. I'm just going to draw one of these, I think. Ooh, and here it comes. Whoop. Okay, the 11th house card. Yeah, this is Aquarian energy, by the way. But 11th house, friends. Who are our friends? Who are the people who can help us? And to me, that is being part of the bigger system. Who's out there who can help you? Is it necessary for you to do everything by yourself? A lot of times we feel, especially people with very strong fire energy in their charts, strong Aries energy or strong, a lot of times, or even people who are Taurian like us, your guidance has helped us a lot on this front. It's so easy to get caught up in this, looks like something from the past. In this, yes. Well, good, I'm glad it does help. I mean, because sometimes we have to be reminded that there's more than one way to look at this. And a lot of times what we do is we go, well, I don't see any other way to look at it, you know? And I'm trying to break free from the past. Yeah, and it's a tough thing to do, because to a certain degree, what we've learned, especially from childhood and onward, never mind anything that could potentially come from other lifetimes, it's very hard to unlearn that. It's very hard to unlearn that. It's hard to, that's why I say when I read cards and they're like, well, just let go of the past. I'm like, yeah, sure. Piece of cake, That's like saying, well, it's like what I often say to people who are atheistic when they talk to people who are very, very hardcore believers in something. I'm like, you're not just going to say to somebody, well, there's no scientific evidence for God. And they're going to go, damn, you're right. I'm just going to stop believing everything right now. Like, it doesn't work like that. We are who we are. We have our beliefs and our experiences. I've been thinking about what your guru said about the past. It's a corpse, and that's very helpful also. Yeah, it's dead, but that's dead. But we have this attachment to it. We remember what it was like when it was alive, and the point is, it's not anymore. And at some point, and death is, and it's interesting that you bring that up too, because that's always been my thing. Remember, my book is about the connection between the fear of the feminine and the fear of death. There's other ways to look at that construct. It's the idea of the past is something, it's comfortable and familiar, and even though it's not there anymore for us, maybe it doesn't even have a relevance to the present. We still find ourselves living in it. We still find ourselves repeating it. We say, well, that's the only way I know how to do things. But then the question, that's why I think we're all being told, whoa, take a step back. You want to work on your plans, but take a step back. Think about what you're doing and think about how you might do it differently. And if you don't know how to do it differently, maybe you want to talk to others who might be able to show you how to do it differently. This may be why we're seeing this friends card here. Get outside your ordinary circle if you're saying, look, I'm not seeing it in front of me. So, yeah. So anyway, so that's some interesting thoughts for today. Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you for putting up with me with my headache today. So I should be, tomorrow is Saturday. Yeah, I should be back tomorrow morning. If anything changes, hopefully I will let you know about that, but I don't think so. I should be here. I need new friends. Well, there you go. You come out and, that's right. We're all kind of making a little friend group here, right? People who are on these live streams, and then people who take the classes with me and stuff like that. Yeah, and do other stuff. You are welcome, Alex. And, I hope that, that feel better. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm sure I will by later today. It kind of is a come and go kind of a thing. But anyway, all of you have a great Friday, and I will catch up with you tomorrow if you are here. Otherwise, we'll see that. Have a beautiful day. Yes, you too. You too, Pat. And and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.